The scent of pine needles and motor oil shouldn't have made her knees weak, but Sarah pressed herself harder against the cold brick wall as footsteps echoed through the abandoned garage. Her fingernails scraped against rough mortar, searching for purchase while her wolf, the one she'd kept hidden for 23 years, clawed desperately at her insides. The Alpha King's breathing was steady, controlled, but she could hear his heartbeat accelerating with each step closer. Stay with me on this one. Sarah had never wanted this life. Growing up in Cedar Falls, she'd watched her mother waste away after her father's death, seeing how the mate bond could destroy someone from the inside out. She'd sworn at 16, standing over her mother's grave in the rain, that she would never let an alpha claim her. Never let anyone have that kind of power over her soul. But promises made in grief have a way of crumbling when fate intervenes. The morning had started like any other. Coffee at Murphy's Diner, black bitter the way she liked it. Her shift at the auto shop didn't start until 9, but she always came in early. There was something comforting about the familiar rhythm of her life. Oil changes, brake jobs, transmission work that left her hands stained and her muscles sore. Normal things. Human things. She'd been elbow-deep in the engine of a '67 Mustang when the bell above the shop door chimed. 3 men in expensive suits. City wolves, her instincts whispered, though she shoved the thought down immediately. She didn't do pack politics. Didn't acknowledge what she was. "Can I help you?" She kept her voice flat, professional, not bothering to look up from the engine block. "We're looking for Sarah Chen." That made her pause. Nobody used her full name here. She was just Sarah, the mechanic who kept to herself and fixed cars better than anyone in 3 counties. But these men, these wolves, they knew exactly who she was looking for. "She's not here," the lie came easily. Had to. Survival always came first. "Your scent says otherwise." The voice hit her like a physical blow. Deep, commanding, with an edge that made her wolf surge forward so violently, she had to grip the edge of the car hood to stay upright. She'd never heard that voice before, but something ancient in her recognized it. Recognized him. No. No, this couldn't be happening. She forced herself to look up, and immediately wished she hadn't. The man standing between the 2 guards wasn't just an alpha. The power rolling off him in waves, the way the very air seemed to bend around his presence, this was the Alpha King. Marcus Stoneheart. The one whose territory stretched from the Rockies to the Mississippi. The one whose name even rogues whispered in fear. And he was looking at her like she was the only thing in the universe that mattered. "I said she's not here." Sarah straightened slowly, acutely aware of the grease under her fingernails, the tear in her coveralls, the messy ponytail that had been good enough for a Tuesday morning until approximately 30 seconds ago. His lips curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. "Little wolf, I can smell the lie as clearly as I can smell the jasmine in your scent. Hidden under all that motor oil and bravado, but it's there, jasmine. Her mother's favorite flower. The one she'd planted outside Sarah's window the day she was born, saying it would bloom whenever her true mate was near. Sarah had ripped those plants out by the roots the day after the funeral. "I don't know what you're talking about." She grabbed a rag, wiping her hands with deliberate slowness. "And I'm nobody's little anything. Now, unless you need automotive services, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." One of the guards stepped forward, a growl building in his chest, but Marcus raised a hand without looking away from her. The sound cut off immediately. "You've been hiding for a long time, Sarah Chen. Living as human, suppressing your wolf, avoiding every pack gathering for the last 7 years. Did you really think you could hide forever? I wasn't hiding. I was living my life. There's a difference. Is there?" He took a step closer and her traitorous body responded, pulse jumping, skin heating. "When was the last time you let your wolf run? When was the last time you felt moonlight on your fur or hunted with your pack?" "I don't have a pack." "No," he agreed softly. "You don't. But you could." The offer hung in the air between them, heavy with implications she didn't want to examine. Sarah had heard the stories. The Alpha King hadn't taken a queen in the 150 years since his first mate's death. He ruled alone, cold and distant as the mountain peaks that bordered his territory. Some said he couldn't take another mate. Others whispered that he chose not to, that the loss had broken something fundamental inside him. Looking at him now, Sarah could almost believe the stories. There was something shattered in those amber eyes, carefully hidden behind walls of power and control. Something that called to the broken pieces inside her own chest. I'm not interested in joining a pack. Any pack, she turned back to the Mustang, dismissing him. Jenna at the front desk can help you with whatever you actually came here for. I came here for you. The words should have sounded like a threat. Instead, they wrapped around her like silk, making her wolf whine with a longing that terrified her more than any dominance display could have. Then you've wasted a trip. She grabbed a wrench, focusing on the bolt that had been giving her trouble all morning. I'm not pack material. Ask anyone. I don't need to ask anyone. I can see exactly what you are, yeah. And what's that? Mine. The wrench slipped, clanging against the engine block. Sarah's entire body went rigid, her wolf suddenly, violently awake in a way it hadn't been since she'd first learned to suppress it. The word echoed through her, setting off alarm bells and awakening needs she'd buried so deep she'd almost forgotten they existed. No, the word came out strangled, desperate. No, I'm not. I'm not anybody's. Your sense says otherwise. His voice had dropped, becoming something darker, more primal. Jasmine and honey, with an edge of defiance that makes my wolf want to. He cut himself off, jaw clenching. You're my mate, Sarah. Denying it won't change the truth, mate. The word she'd been running from since the moment she'd understood what killed her mother. The bond that could complete you or destroy you, with no middle ground and no escape. You're wrong, but even as she said it, she could feel the truth humming through her veins. Could smell the thunderstorm and pine that was uniquely him, calling to everything wild inside her. Am I? He moved closer, and she realized her mistake too late. She'd backed herself into a corner, the Mustang on one side, tool cabinets on the other, and 6 feet 4 inches of Alpha King blocking her only exit. Then why is your heart racing? Why do you smell like— Stop. She held up a hand, hating how it trembled. Just stop. I don't care what you think you smell, or what your wolf is telling you. I chose a long time ago not to be part of this world. That includes mate bonds, Alpha Kings, and whatever fairy tale you've convinced yourself is happening here. Something shifted in his expression. The predatory intensity softened into something almost understanding. What happened to her? Your mother, Sarah's breath caught. How did you? The grief scent is old but deep. Abandonment, loss, betrayal. The kind of pain that shapes a life. His voice gentled. She was mated, wasn't she? And when she lost him, she disappeared. The words came out before Sarah could stop them. Inch by inch, day by day. The bond ate her alive from the inside out, until there was nothing left but a shell that looked like my mother. I was 16 when she finally let go. 16 when I buried her next to him because she couldn't exist in a world where he didn't. I'm sorry. 2 words. Simple. Sincere. They shouldn't have mattered, but something cracked inside Sarah's chest. I won't be her. She met his eyes, letting him see the steel underneath her fear. I won't waste away because of some biological imperative. I won't let a bond, any bond, have that kind of power over me. Is that why you've been taking the suppressants? She stiffened. I don't know what you mean. The chemical signature is unmistakable, though you've been careful. Black market, I'd guess. Probably from that witch clinic 2 towns over. They mask your scent, keep your wolf dormant, make you harder to track. Also slowly poisoning you, but I'm guessing you know that. Of course she knew. The headaches, the bone-deep exhaustion that never quite went away, the way her wolf felt more distant with each passing year. It was a price she'd been willing to pay for freedom. It's my choice. Yes, he agreed. It is. But choices have consequences and yours are catching up with you. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Your wolf is dying, Sarah. I can feel it. Another year, maybe 2, and the damage will be irreversible. The suppressants don't just hide what you are, they're erasing it. Good. The word hung between them like a challenge. Marcus studied her for a long moment, those amber eyes seeing too much. You don't mean that, don't I? She lifted her chin defiant. Maybe I'd rather be human. Maybe I'd rather die on my own terms than live as someone's property. Is that what you think a mate bond is? Ownership, isn't it? The bitterness in her voice could have stripped paint. My mother couldn't function without my father. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't remember her own daughter existed half the time. If that's not ownership, I don't know what is. Marcus was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke, his voice carried a weight that made her think of mountains and centuries. I had a mate once. Isabella. We were bonded for 60 years, before hunters found her, while I was away dealing with a territorial dispute. Silver bullets laced with wolfsbane. She died in my arms 3 hours after I found her. Sarah's anger faltered. I'm sorry, I wanted to follow her. The admission was quiet, matter of fact. For months, I stood on the edge of that cliff. The bond pulled at me, calling me to join her. My wolf howled for death, but you didn't. No, his eyes found hers again. Because Isabella would have haunted me through eternity if I'd dishonored her memory that way. Because the pack needed me. Because life, even with half your soul missing, is still life. Your mother made a choice, Sarah. It doesn't have to be yours. Pretty words. She forced the walls back up, though they felt flimsier now. But I've made my choice. I don't want a mate. I don't want you. Liar. The word was soft, almost amused, and it ignited something dangerous in her chest. I said I don't, he moved. One moment he was 3 feet away. The next he was in her space, not touching but close enough that his scent wrapped around her like a living thing. Pine and thunderstorms, and something wild that made her wolf slam against her mental barriers. Tell me you don't feel it. His voice was rough velvet against her senses. Tell me your wolf isn't crying out for mine. Tell me you don't want to know what it feels like to run beside me under the full moon. Her voice cracked. She could feel her carefully constructed world fracturing around her. 7 years of hiding, of pretending, of taking poison to keep herself safe, and he destroyed it all just by existing in her space. I'll make you a deal. He stepped back, giving her room to breathe, though his scent lingered like a brand. 1 month. Give me 1 month to show you what a mate bond can be. What a pact can be. If you still want to walk away after that, I'll let you go. No pursuit, no claims, no interference. You can go back to your garage and your suppressants and your slow suicide. And if I say no, his smile was sharp as moonlight. Then I leave now, and you never see me again. But we both know the bond won't let you go that easily. You'll feel me every full moon. Dream of me every night. Wonder what could have been while your wolf slowly fades away. At least my way, you get answers before you make your final choice. Sarah wanted to refuse. Every instinct she'd honed over the last 7 years screamed at her to send him away. But underneath the fear, buried beneath layers of grief and determination, something else stirred. Curiosity, maybe. Or the exhaustion of fighting her own nature for so long. 1 month, she heard herself say. But I have conditions. Name them, I keep working. I don't move to your pack house. And you don't mark me or try to complete the bond without my explicit consent. Agreed. No hesitation, which surprised her. Any other demands? Yeah, she met his gaze steadily. You tell me the real reason you came looking for me. Alpha Kings don't randomly show up at small town auto shops looking for their mates. Not after 150 years alone. Something flickered across his face, surprise, maybe, or respect. Clever little wolf, I told you I'm not, my apologies. Clever Sarah. He leaned against the Mustang, suddenly looking almost casual despite the power that radiated from every line of his body. There have been incidents. Wolves going feral along the eastern border. Entire packs vanishing overnight. Signs of magic that shouldn't exist anymore. What does that have to do with me? 3 weeks ago, a seer in New Orleans had a vision. Fire and shadow consuming the pack lands, ancient magic rising, blood painting the moon red. And in the center of it all, a wolf with jasmine in her scent who would either save us or damn us all. Sarah's blood went cold. You're joking. I don't joke about prophecies. His expression was deadly serious now. I've been searching for you for 3 weeks. following rumors of a female wolf who smelled like jasmine and lived as human. Do you have any idea how rare that combination is? I'm not some prophesied savior. I'm a mechanic who just wants to be left alone, perhaps. But the magic doesn't care what we want. And neither do the enemies gathering at our borders. Your borders. Your enemies. Not mine. You think they'll care about that distinction when they come? You think hiding in this garage will protect you if the pack lands fall? Sarah wanted to argue, but something in his tone made her pause. There was genuine fear there, carefully controlled but present. Whatever was happening, he believed it was real. 1 month, she repeated. I'll give you 1 month to convince me. But when I walk away, and I will walk away, you don't get to play the prophecy card to guilt me into staying. Fair enough. He straightened, and suddenly he was every inch the Alpha King again. I'll send a car for you tonight. 8 o'clock, I can drive myself, to the pack house perhaps. But where we're going first you'll need a guide. And where's that? His smile was enigmatic. To meet someone who might help you understand that not all mate bonds end in tragedy. Someone who's been waiting a very long time to meet you. Before she could ask what he meant, he was gone, his guards falling into step behind him as they left the garage. Sarah stood alone among the tools and oil stains, her carefully ordered world in ruins around her. The suppressants were in her apartment, hidden in a coffee can above the refrigerator. She could take them tonight, double the dose, make herself invisible again. It might buy her a few more years of peace. But his words echoed in her mind. Your wolf is dying. She'd felt it, the slow fade. Had convinced herself it was worth it. Now, with his scent still lingering in the air and her wolf more awake than it had been in years, she wondered if she'd been lying to herself all along. 1 month. What harm could 1 month do? The thought almost made her laugh. She'd just made a deal with the Alpha King. She'd agreed to spend a month exploring a mate bond she'd sworn to never acknowledge. And somewhere out there, ancient magic was rising and prophets were having visions about jasmine-scented wolves. What harm indeed? Sarah picked up her wrench and went back to work on the Mustang. But her hands shook, and her wolf prowled restlessly beneath her skin, and she knew with bone-deep certainty that her life as she'd known it was over. 8 o'clock came too quickly. Sarah had changed 3 times before settling on jeans and a leather jacket. Armor, really, though she knew clothes wouldn't protect her from what was coming. She'd left the suppressants untouched, though her fingers had lingered on the coffee can for a long moment. The car was exactly what she'd expected. Black, expensive, bulletproof glass. The driver was a wolf, of course, his scent carefully neutral as he opened the door for her. Professional. Distant. Safe. The drive took them out of Cedar Falls and into the mountains. Sarah watched familiar landmarks disappear into darkness, each mile taking her further from the life she'd built. Her wolf should have been anxious, but instead it felt like coming home. They stopped at a cabin that looked deceptively simple from the outside. Wood and stone, nestled among the pines like it had grown there naturally. But Sarah could feel the power thrumming through the walls. Old magic worked into the very foundations. Marcus was waiting on the porch, having traded his suit for jeans and a Henley that did unfair things to his shoulders. More dangerous like this somehow. More real. Second thoughts, he asked as she climbed the steps. Constantly. But I'm here, that's all I ask, he gestured to the door. There's someone inside who wants to meet you. Someone who understands better than most what you're afraid of. Sarah steeled herself and walked through the door, expecting another alpha, another wolf trying to sell her on the beauty of pack life. Instead, she found a woman with silver hair and kind eyes, sitting by a fire with a photo album in her lap. Hello, Sarah, the woman said, and her voice was warm as summer rain. I'm Eleanor Stoneheart, Marcus's grandmother. And I think it's time someone told you the truth about mate bonds and the choices we make. Sarah looked between them, understanding dawning. She's not a wolf. No, Eleanor said simply. I'm thoroughly, wonderfully human. Have been for all 93 years of my life. 58 of them mated to the most powerful alpha in the Western Territories. But how? Sit. Eleanor patted the couch beside her. Marcus, make yourself useful, and bring us some of that tea you're always going on about. This is going to be a long conversation. Marcus obeyed without protest, which would have been shocking enough on its own. But Sarah was too focused on the woman in front of her to process the implications. You're human, she repeated. Mated to a wolf, to an alpha king, actually. Marcus's grandfather, Sebastian. Eleanor opened the photo album, revealing black and white images of a couple so obviously in love it hurt to look at. Everyone said it was impossible. That I'd grow old while he stayed young. That I was too fragile for his world. That the bond would kill me, but it didn't, no. Though there were times, Eleanor's smile turned wistful. The bond between wolf and human is different than between two wolves. Gentler in some ways, fiercer in others. I felt him always, but it never consumed me the way full wolf bonds can. Perhaps because I had no wolf of my own to be subsumed. Marcus returned with tea, setting the service down before retreating to lean against the mantel. Giving them space, but staying close enough to listen. Your mother, Eleanor continued gently, lost herself because she allowed it. Because she didn't understand that a mate bond is meant to be a partnership, not a prison. Two souls supporting each other, not one consuming the other. She loved him too much. No, dear. She forgot to love herself at all. Eleanor poured the tea with steady hands. A lesson I learned early, when I realized loving Sebastian meant navigating a world that could kill me as easily as breathing. I had to be strong enough to stand beside him, not behind him. Human or not, fragile or not, I had to be his equal or we'd both be destroyed. Sarah accepted the tea, inhaling the scent of chamomile and something else, something wild. And when he died, it nearly killed me. The admission was quiet, matter of fact. The bond screamed for months. I wanted to follow him more than I wanted to breathe. But I had children to raise, a pack that still needed guidance, and a promise I'd made to him long before, that whoever went first, the other would live. Really live, not just exist. That's asking a lot. Love always does. Eleanor turned a page in the album. But look here. This was me, 5 years after Sebastian died. Teaching Marcus to fish. And here at his first shift. His high school graduation. His coronation as Alpha King. I grieved, yes. Part of me always will. But I also lived, because that's what mates do for each other. They give each other strength to carry on. Sarah studied the photos, seeing the shadow of grief in Eleanor's eyes, but also joy, determination, love that transcended loss. Why are you telling me this? Because you're afraid of the wrong thing. Eleanor set the album aside and took Sarah's hands. Her skin was paper-thin, marked by age, but her grip was surprisingly strong. You're afraid of losing yourself in a bond. But from what Marcus tells me, you've already lost yourself in fear. 7 years of suppressance. Of denying your very nature. That's not freedom, child. That's just another kind of prison. At least it's one I chose, is it? Or did grief choose it for you? Eleanor's eyes were too knowing. I think you've been punishing yourself for surviving what your mother didn't. Proving you're stronger by rejecting everything she couldn't live without. But strength isn't about what you can endure alone, Sarah. Sometimes it's about what you're brave enough to share. Sarah pulled her hands away, needing distance from the truth in those words. You don't understand. I felt what the mate bond wants. Even suppressed, even fighting it, I can feel it pulling at me. If I give in, you think you'll disappear. Marcus spoke for the first time since bringing the tea. You think I'll consume you the way your father's death consumed your mother, won't you? Look at me. His voice carried an edge of command that made her meet his eyes. Really look at me, Sarah. Do I look like someone who wants a weak mate? A shadow to follow me around? I've ruled alone for a century and a half. If all I wanted was submission, I could have it 1,000 times over. Then what do you want? A partner. The word fell between them like a stone into still water. An equal. Someone strong enough to challenge me, to stand beside me when the darkness comes. The prophecy speaks of a choice you'll make, but it doesn't say what that choice is. I believe, it's the choice between letting fear rule you or finally being free. Pretty words, Sarah said again, but with less conviction this time. Alina laughed, the sound bright as silver bells. Oh, I like her, Marcus. She's not easily swayed by that alpha mystique you've cultivated. She turned back to Sarah. Here's what he's not telling you, probably because his pride won't allow it. He's terrified too. Terrified of wanting you, of needing you, of opening himself up to that kind of loss again. You're not the only one who's been hiding, dear. Grandmother, Marcus warned. Hush. The girl deserves to know what she's getting into. Alina's eyes sparkled with mischief. He's been having the dreams too, hasn't he? Don't think I haven't noticed the circles under your eyes, boy. The way you've been pushing yourself harder these last weeks. The bond calls to you both, and fighting it is killing you just as surely as those suppressants are killing her. Sarah looked at Marcus, seeing him differently now. The careful control, the measured distance, it wasn't just alpha posturing. It was armor just like hers. Is that true? She asked. Have you been dreaming of Jasmine and motor oil? His smile was self-deprecating. Of a woman who refuses to bow to anyone, even fate itself. Yes. Every night for 3 weeks since the moment the seer spoke your scent into existence, and you hate it. I hate losing control, he corrected. I hate that, after a century and a half of careful solitude, one stubborn mechanic can walk into my life and upend everything I thought I knew about myself. So yes, little wolf, I understand your fear better than you might think. The admission hung in the air between them, raw and honest in a way Sarah hadn't expected. This wasn't the all-powerful Alpha King from the stories. This was just a man, wolf, whatever, as scared of connection as she was. 1 month, she said finally. We both have 1 month to figure this out. Together, Alina added firmly. No more hiding, either of you. If you're going to make this choice, make it honestly. Show each other who you really are, not just the walls you've built. Marcus moved closer, and Sarah fought the urge to step back. Or worse, step forward. Can you do that? He asked. Can you let me see who you are beneath the fear? Can you? His laugh was rueful. I suppose we'll find out. Alina stood, surprisingly spry for her age. Good. Now that's settled, let's eat. I made pot roast, and Marcus can tell you about these border troubles while we pretend this is a normal family dinner and not a prophetically ordained meeting between terrified mates. We're not, Sarah started. Aren't you? Alina's smile was knowing. Dear, I may be human, but I'm not blind. The air practically crackles when you two look at each other. Denial is just another form of hiding, and I thought we agreed you were done with that. Sarah wanted to argue, but the smell of pot roast was making her stomach growl, and she realized she hadn't eaten since breakfast. Besides, Alina was right. She'd agreed to this month, to trying something different than the slow death she'd been choosing. Might as well start with dinner. The meal was surreal. Alina kept the conversation light, sharing embarrassing stories about Marcus's childhood while he suffered with surprising grace. Sarah found herself relaxing despite everything, drawn in by the warmth of this strange little family. He was 12, Alina was saying, absolutely convinced he could master a full shift without any guidance. Ended up stuck halfway for 3 hours, human body, wolf ears and tail. Refused to let anyone help because he was going to be Alpha King someday, and Alpha Kings don't need help. Grandmother, Marcus groaned, but he was fighting a smile. The pack healer had to bribe him with chocolate chip cookies to let her near enough to fix it. Alina winked at Sarah. To this day, he can't resist them. Useful information for a mate to have. We're not, Sarah caught herself. They weren't mates. Not yet. Not unless she chose it. But the word was starting to feel less like a trap and more like possibility. After dinner, Alina retreated to her room, claiming old bones and young people needing to talk. Which left Sarah and Marcus alone by the fire, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on them. Thank you, Sarah said finally, for letting me meet her. She's not what I expected. She rarely is. Marcus stared into the flames. She saved me after Isabella. Reminded me that strength comes in many forms. That sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is choose to be vulnerable. Is that what this is? You being vulnerable, He looked at her then, and the masks were gone. She saw the loneliness, the fear, the desperate hope he'd been hiding behind Alpha Command. Terrifyingly so, he admitted. I've built my entire life around never needing anyone again. And then you walked into it, smelling like everything I've been running from, and suddenly all those walls feel like tissue paper. Sarah's breath caught. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. He was supposed to be demanding, dominant, everything she'd been prepared to fight against. Not this. Not honest and scared, and human despite the wolf under his skin. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Neither do I, he turned to face her fully. But maybe that's the point. Maybe we figure it out together, one day at a time. 1 month to start, and the prophecy. The border troubles,